sharing information. So that is a very good source of getting connections and more job opportunities. Yeah. So okay, we'll get started with what is machine learning in general, and then we'll continue with different subtopics. So these are the things we'll be covering as part of the today's class. What is machine learning, and why do we need machines to learn anything? What can machine learning do? Like, what are all the different applications? I mean, few applications that we see in daily life, and how does a data set look like? I mean, when we say machine learning, what we are trying to do is dealing with the data and trying to get some insights out of it. So, I mean, how does a data set look like? Okay, I have not shared my screen, I guess. Yeah, let me share my screen. Sorry. Yeah, hope everyone is able to see my screen, right? Okay, great. So these are the subtopics we'll be covering as part of the today's class. What is machine learning, and why do we need a machine to learn anything, and what can it do, and how does it learn? So, and different kinds of machine learning. So these are the basic things we'll be covering as part of today's class. As again, as I have mentioned, if you feel something is not clear or anything, please stop me and we can discuss, because one thing we'll be covering today is what is the basic difference between two different kinds of algorithms, and that is something which is covered in the first class, but unfortunately what happened is there is one student who did not have that idea of what is even that by the core by the time course is completed, and it is not very good to be in that position. So make sure everything is clear. That would help everyone. So you see, what is machine learning? Everyone is aware of what programming is, right? Like, how do you do programming? What is the concept of programming, software engineering, right? So the idea of programming is to write few lines of code to make sure we are able to achieve the task we wanted to do. So the task could be anything. So for example, say the task is to go get eggs from market, right? This is the task that my mother has given to me. So what I'll do, I'll dress up. Probably if I am casuals, I'll try to go to formals, and then wear my slippers, go down to the basement, go by walking to the supermarket, uh, pick out some eggs, and then give money to the shopkeeper and come back. These are the different steps. So if you want to tell a machine to do this task, right, these are all the steps you need to tell the machine, okay, do these all particular actions that are supposed to be done to complete the task in a sequential manner, and then you will be able to complete the task. This is how we instruct a machine to do a particular task, right? We need to give clear instructions of these are all the things you need to do. So this is what a software program looks like. So whenever you are writing a software program to do this, right, so you will give out particular instructions. Do this if this is the action, again do this, otherwise if something else is the action, uh, do something else. So yeah, anyway, we are at the start, so there is nothing to restart, I guess. So we are talking about what is machine learning. Anyway, we haven't talked what is machine learning. Currently, I'm talking what is software programming. Software programming is where you write certain rules to say that based on particular conditions, if you follow these rules, you will be able to complete a task. So, for example, you wanted to do any particular task, right? You look at particular conditions, and based on the conditions, you want to take a decision. So, for example, the decision could be whether to buy a stock or not, right? If you want to write a software program to get an understanding of whether you want to buy stocks in stock market. So, how do you write that? So, you make different things say, what is the time now? If time is less than 8, probably buy. If time is greater than 8, don't buy. This is a very basic condition I'm saying, but the condition can be anything. Or maybe another condition could be like, is the stock raising over the past 1 hour? If the stock is raising over the past 1 year, then past 1 hour, then probably buy. Or if you feel like there is a downward trend, you don't want to buy. This is how you write a software program to do a particular task, right? So this is the general software engineering, where you know what is the task you want to do, and you write out explicit instructions saying, okay, these are the instructions the machine has to follow to complete this task, right? So this is how software engineering works. Machine learning tries to turn it upside down, tries to turn this task upside down. So I'll show how it does that. So it does that by changing the paradigm like this. Everyone is able to see my screen, right? Where I have this box of computer and then data program and output. Okay. So this is the traditional program where you know what is the data, and what the person has to write the program saying that based on these conditions you need to make these decisions, and computer will make the decision. So that is the traditional software programming. Machine learning, what it does is, we don't tell the machine exactly what it conditions it needs to look at. We'll just give the machine the data and the output, and we will ask the machine to figure out. Yeah, exactly. As Sanket has mentioned, machine learning is the ability to predict outcomes without being explicitly programmed. So we are not going to program the computer saying that you look at these things in a particular way to make a particular decision. You just figure out how those rules yourself. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to spoon feed you. Okay, these are the rules you need to look at before taking a decision. Okay. Ideally I can disable, but then if someone is having a good question, right, I think it would be better to have the chat enabled, because uh, if someone is not aware of, I mean, not getting some concept, it would be better to have that discussion. Isn't it the case? I hope everyone would have want to have chat enabled, I guess, right? Okay. So today we'll be having a 2 hours course. So yeah, probably you can raise a hand if you have a question, or you can type a question as well. Like I mean, I'll try to see the question, and based on that, I'll try to respond. So today we'll be covering the class from 7 to 9. So let's proceed. We saw what is a traditional programming. Machine learning does it in a different way. So here we are not telling the machine to say like, these are all the rules that you need to follow when making a decision. You figure out those rules yourself. I'll just give you what is the data and what is the output I am expecting. You figure out those rules, right? So the data could be anything. So like as I said, right, the data could be like I am creating a data set of stock market results at a particular time, and then also the outputs saying that I want to buy at this point of time, I want to buy it at this point of time, some historical data over the past 6 months, right? So at which points to buy and which points to not buy. So the screen is not stuck. I'm showing the same slide. So that is the kind of data I have. So from the past 6 months, I have data at which points to buy and which points to not buy, right? So based on this data, the computer has to figure out like what are the decisions it needs to take. So for example, in the future, I have different conditions, like it is the stock is growing at a particular amount of time, or maybe there is a coronavirus that has come, or things like that. So based on these conditions, computer should be able to figure out, saying that okay, if these conditions are happening, I'll try to buy or not buy. I'm not explicitly telling the computer saying okay, look at these things to figure out how to do a particular task. The machine is supposed to do the task itself. So I'll give a basic data set example to get an understanding of how this is going to work. So Everyone can see the spreadsheet, I guess, Excel sheet. So this is the Titanic dataset. So this is the Titanic dataset. As you can see, so the dataset has a few features like what is the passenger ID, whether the passenger has survived or not, and few other features. So the task of this dataset is to predict based on few features whether a person has survived or not, right? So you know what happened in the Titanic, like many people have went on the Titanic ship and then like the ship sank in the middle, and due to that they had to like arrange lifeboats and were able to save few of the people, but again many people died as part of the disaster. So the task of this problem statement is to find out whether a person has survived or not based on few features. So this is what machine learning does. So there are few features. So the features could be like what is the name of the person, what is the gender of the person, age, whether he has any sibling, what is the uh, class of the ticket, and similarly what is the fare of the ticket, what is the cabin number. So these are different features that are present for every person that has boarded the ship, right? So these features, you need not care about what PARC is. So just uh, figure these features that I have talked about. So like we have talked about few features, what is the name, age, sex, and similarly whether he has a sibling or not, and what is the fare and cabin, right? So based on these features, the task is to figure out whether the person has died or not. So how do we do that? So we do some analysis of the data and see like what are the relations in the data to figure out whether the person has died. So without the advent of machine learning, if you want to do with software engineering, right? So you'll write multiple if else conditions saying that if the person is having this condition and this condition and this condition, probably he's alive. So you will see that if you do the data analysis, right? So 80% of the females have survived, but only around 40 or 50% of the males have survived. So if you are a female, there is a more chance of surviving because they have given more preference to females while taking the lifeboats in the Titanic disaster. So that is one condition you can say. So if you are a female, probably you have survived. If you are a male, probably you have died. So this is one condition you can write. So similarly, they have given more priority to uh, like those who had a higher fare, because obviously you know, right, someone who has paid a higher fare means they are a rich person, and obviously they were considered important, and they had more lifeboats compared to people who have paid a lower fare, you know, right, in the movie. So there were different kinds of people, the rich ones and the poor ones. So the rich ones were able to survive and the poor ones are not able to survive. So you can write another condition saying that if fare is above say some $40, probably the person has survived. If fare is less than $40, the person has not survived. So this is how you do it in traditional software programming. But with machine learning, what you will do is you will not say that okay, these are all the conditions that you need to look at before saying whether the person has survived or not. You just give this data set to the machine, whatever data set I'm showing, right? I'm just giving this data set to the machine saying that okay, these are the features that I have, and this is the output whether the person has survived or not. Zero means dead and one means survived. So based on this, you only figure out what are the conditions you need to look at to take the decision, whatever decision is, like whether the person has survived or not. You only figure out whether which feature is important and what is the point at which you want to take a decision to come at the task of predicting whether the person has survived or not, right? So this is how machine learning works. We are offloading the task of humans and asking the machine to do our task of coming up with different rules. So now machine comes up with different rules by looking at the data. So what it does is it will look at the data. It will look at the data and sees that more females have survived than males. So probably I'll use gender as a feature and come up with a rule. Like same how humans does, but now machine is doing the same thing by looking at the data. So previously humans used to do that, like they do used to do the analysis of looking at the data and doing some measures of the data, like whatever I have mentioned, but now machine is doing this. So the output need not be always binary. We will actually discuss that regarding the output, but output need not always be mandatory. So I hope this part is clear. What is machine learning and how is it different from the traditional programming? So this is the basis of what we will be learning over the process of the course. How we are going to make the machine learn the data set that we have provided. So we have discussed, we are just going to provide the data set and the machine has to learn the patterns across the data set. So there are different algorithms by which the machine can learn the patterns. So we'll be discussing different algorithms over the course of the this micro learning course. Mm. So is anyone able to see my Google Drive link? Yeah, right. So yeah, the outcome could be based on cabin as well. So the machine has to figure out, or the human has to figure out in case if it is not left to the machine. So the outcome can be based on any feature. So that's why we are not giving a particular feature to the machine learning algorithm. We are giving all the features to the machine learning algorithm, and we are asking the computer to make the decision based on the data set. We are not saying use these features. We are just asking the computer to say what are the features you feel as important. You take those features to take come at the decision. And someone is saying, uh, so if most of the cabin information is missing, probably yes. So if you feel like out of the 800 data points, only 20 data points are there, it doesn't make sense to keep it. So in case, as Shreya mentioned, if you feel like something is of not much use, right? You can just remove the column. So we will see that. I mean, what are the process of providing data? So whatever data you get, right, it might not be clean. So this all process of cleaning or like maybe updating it with some other values, those all come under the process of data set cleaning. So that is one step that is involved in a machine learning algorithm. I mean, when you're dealing with a machine learning data set. So these are the general steps that are involved when you are working with any data set. So whenever you are coming up with a problem statement and trying to get results on top of that, right? So these are the three different steps that are involved. So the first part is like getting the data. So going out to the real world and trying to get the data. And once you get the data, you will have to do some cleaning of the data. Like someone has mentioned, removing the columns. Shrey has mentioned, right? So removing columns or like maybe adding some values which are not there and things like that. So you do all this process, and once the process is done, you send it to a model. So model is a different algorithm whose task is to look at data and come up with different rules, right? So we have said that the task of a machine learning algorithm is to like come up with the rules itself rather than being told what explicitly what are the rules it has to follow. And then the third part will be deploying it. So everyone might be aware of what deployment is, right? So uh, deployment is nothing but showing it to the real world so that anyone can make a query to it like a web service and get results on top of that one. So like keeping it on a website, you can say deployment is. So these are the three different steps that are involved in the entire process of dealing with the data. So yeah, I'm going to discuss what is supervised and unsupervised, but currently you can think of it like we are talking about supervised. So these are all the different aspects, I mean, different terms that are thrown in the real world. So artificial intelligence is a very generic term. So anything which is intelligent is called an artificial intelligence algorithm. So transform data, again, like we'll see what is transform data as part of the course. But again, you can think of it like if one feature is dominating other feature, right? We don't want to do that. So we'll do some pre-processing on top of that one. So those kind of things come under transform data. So like we have seen, there are multiple features, right? So it is possible that one feature is having like 1 million value, like the value of that one is like 1 million, 10 million or something like that. And the value in the other column might be like, just a minute. So you can see in this case, so for example, if the fare is like 1 million rupees or 10 million rupees or something like that, and the age is in the range of 0 to 100, right? So it is possible that fare can actually dominate completely the age feature because the values are not at all comparable. One is in millions range and another is in hundreds range, right? So you want to do some transformation on top of that one. So these kind of things come under transformation. And similarly, there are few other things. So say for example, you can come up with a new feature which is not existing here. So these are the features that are present, but probably you can generate features that were not present. So based on the name, right? For example, so you can come up with a feature saying that someone who is having a surname which is very popular might be a good indicator to say whether he has survived or not. So for example, say Rahul Gandhi, anyone is having a surname of Gandhi, right? He's a popular person, so probably he would survive. But maybe if someone is having a very random surname, probably the way of getting survival is not that much. So that is one feature that can be derived from the existing feature. So it is not a feature saying that is there any person with name Gandhi or not. That is not an existing feature, but that is some feature that can we can come up with by looking at the data that is present. So that all comes under the feature engineering part. But again, we'll cover it at more depth as part of the as we go along the course. No, there is nothing like analog to digital. Yeah, as Tosh has mentioned, you can think of it like feature engineering comes under the task of transforming data. So artificial intelligence is a very generic term. Any intelligent algorithm, you can call it as an artificial intelligent algorithm. So there is no conscience as such, like what is artificial intelligence. Anything which can do computation, you can call it artificial intelligence. So even if I can say that a machine is able to say whether when you do 2 plus 2 is equals to 4, right? I can say it is intelligence because it is able to do that computation, right? So artificial intelligence is that generic term. It's not a very concise word to say that okay, these all things under come. It's a very broad topic, and these machine learning and deep learning are subtopics of it. So you can think of like artificial intelligence is the big circle, and machine learning and deep learning are smaller circles which are present inside that big circle. So machine learning comes under the place where you are dealing with data and trying to learn from the data. So like artificial intelligence algorithm need not even have data. Like you can write an algorithm without even having data, right? But machine learning works when you have data. So machine learning consists of different algorithms. We'll see that over the course, like linear regression, logistic regression, things like that. But one algorithm which has become very famous over the past few years is the neural networks one. So you might have been hearing about neural networks in general, right? So the hype that is going on in the world from the past 2 3 years, that is because of neural networks, and that has started with deep learning. So deep learning is the study of neural networks. So you can think of neural network is one algorithm which kind of does the same task which a machine learning algorithm does, but since it is performing much better compared to other machine learning algorithms, right? So what happened is they have created a different subfield and named it deep learning. right? So these are the three different things you will see. So this is the basic difference between machine learning and deep learning. They both do the same task, but only the thing that is different between a machine learning and deep learning is deep learning uses neural networks, machine learning uses other different algorithms like linear regression, random forest, and things like that. I hope this is clear, right? What is machine learning and what is deep learning? But the task is same. The task is to come up with the unwritten rules. So now, why do we need the machines to learn anything? So why is this? Because like around 20 years ago, so there was a lot of data explosion. Like how machine learning is the sexy job now. So 10 years ago, the 6 years job was big data. So people were involved in like how to use the big data and parse it and clean it and things like that. So how do you deal with data in general? Because the data is coming at a very high pace, right? So for example, uh, in Google, every day it is having 3.7 million search queries. So what can you do with that? Facebook is having 973,000 logins per 60 seconds, not even like, sorry, a day, it is for 60 seconds. So what can you do with that? So what Facebook does with that? So it will try to gauge your interest and show advertisements for you. So these kind of things people can do. Like once you have the data, right, you can do some analysis on top of that one and try to add a business use case on top of that. So everyone is trying to do that, and everyone is having a lot of data. So everyone wants to use this data to get some business use case out of it and make some money out of it. So that is what people are after. So that is why how to deal with data was the biggest problem 10 years ago. The main problem that is currently is like how to make sense of the data. I mean, how to derive some very good insights out of the data. So that is why machine learning is very popular nowadays. So there is no particular sector as such where machine learning is majorly used. Machine learning is used in, you can think of like every sector now. Everywhere where there is a data involved, people are trying to use machine learning. So there is no particular sector as such. So you can see that any industry, right, which is able to collect data over some point of time, they were trying to apply some machine learning algorithm on top of that one. So can someone say what kind of things machine learning can do in general life? Like what is something you are already seeing in your daily life that is being done by machine learning? Yeah, automation, sure. Medical, ads, prediction of weather, recommendation systems, all very good answers. Self-driving cars, serving of ads, chatbot, perfect. So these are the use cases: search engine, YouTube, prediction of client churn, right? AC setting temperature based on number of people. So that is what I was working also when in Samsung. So yeah, image tagging by FB. You can say that wherever data is involved, people are using machine learning algorithm. Bixby, yes, Bixby, Alexa, Google, Siri, everyone is using machine learning. So as we can see, based on the use cases that you have mentioned, right, machine learning is already ruling the world now. Facial and voice recognition, Google Maps maybe to find out what is the best route. So yeah, as we can see, machine learning is already quite used in everyday world. You can see that it is being used in everyday use cases. So it has come into the uh, daily interaction with humans, you can say. So previously it was thought of something like which will come maybe in the future, but now it is part of the everyday life. Now we are interacting with machines and machines are trying to understand us. So this kind of interaction is going on from some time. So machine learning has entered the world. So these are some applications you can see. So analyzing images of products to automatically classify them. So So for example, in Flipkart, right? So one major problem they have is like whenever someone uploads a photo, the seller, right? They need to provide the tags as well, but they might not be aware what are the tags. So they were using machine learning algorithm to identify what are the tags that can be present for an image. So the tags could be like a yellow shirt, a long sleeve. So these kind of tags, right? So these are getting generated using a machine learning algorithm rather than having a machine human look at the t-shirt and say that okay, these are all the tags that can be added. So detecting tumors in brain scans. So yeah, many healthcare startups like Niramai and all those things were trying to use machine learning algorithm using images or thermal images or different kinds of images to detect tumors, automatically classifying news articles. So again, this kind of comes under tagging part. You can say like how do you classify articles into different categories, like whether it is a sports article or whether it is a weather article or a crime article, things like that. Automatically flagging offensive comments on discussion forums. So, uh, like again, this is something which is very important for any social network, right? So it is possible that they might be adding either offensive content like porn or anything, or they might be adding some lewd comments. So you would want to either ban the user or try to remove the content. So previously, what used to happen is people used to review these things and then based on that, okay, used to delete that. But again, that is something a very bad task to have for a human to do, right? Looking at lewd content or looking at these kind of things. Okay, is IoT related to machine learning? So it's not like related to machine learning, but you can say that you can use IoT data to do machine learning. Anywhere there is data, you can do machine learning. So IoT has a lot of data, so you can do machine learning on top of that one. Google Crowdsource also supports similar ML initiatives by Google. What ML initiatives do you mean, Shivani? So there is Google Crowdsource, which actually helps you to, which actually asks people to do tagging, because tagging is one main important part. We'll see. Yeah, they might be working on classifying the comments, but not exactly sure if they are doing it currently. But they do have some image classification, like they do show various images and ask the people to tag them as part of Google Crowdsource. Another very good crowdsourcing project, which we are doing it implicitly without even looking, is like this captcha, right? Where you are asked to like click on all the images having this object. So that is happening like a live data collection. So are you going to use video as data set? No, we will not be working with image or video mostly. We'll be working with tabular data, the data that I have shown previously, if you see right in the Excel sheet, because machine learning mostly deals with that. If you have to work with, okay, yeah, I'll do that. We'll not be working with the video currently. We'll only work with tabular data. Automatically flagging offensive comments on discussion forums. Yeah, as I said, right, previously humans used to do that, which is a very bad thing for any human to do. But now machines have taken which are very big, right? So in that case, it would be very difficult for someone to go through all the document and see what is the content that is present. Rather than we can give an algorithm saying that you look at the document and give me the key information that I need to see, right? So that is one way of doing it. And then forecasting is a
very important problem in many use cases. So some use cases of forecasting lies like weather prediction or like even the stock market prediction, when the company's revenue. Segmenting clients based on their purchases. So these companies, right? These companies want to have different strategies for different kinds of clients. Saying that everyone is able to hear me, I guess, right? Hello. Yeah. Okay. So okay. Yeah. Companies have this strategy of coming up with different options for different segments. So they want to design like different advertising campaigns for different segments. So they do it using machine learning and recommending a product. So you might be seeing recommendation engines everywhere in Flipkart, in e-commerce, everywhere, right? So whenever you click on a product, you will see related products or other products you might be interested. So that comes with machine learning. So these are a few applications, but again, this is a very basic list. There are many other applications that can be possible with machine learning, and the limit is endless. So whenever you are dealing with data, you can use machine learning to do a task. So again, like this is the kind of data we are going to deal with. It's the tabular data that you will see in any database or things like that. So data present in a tabular format, kinds of features, the input features and the output target variable. So as you can see, in this case, the P class, name, sex, age, sibling, and all those things, these all come under the input features, and the target variable is the survived, whether he has survived or not. So based on all these input features, we are trying to predict the target variable, right? So this is the kind of data we'll be using. Is my voice cracking? Okay, just a minute.
Is it better now? Hello. Okay. Yeah. So this is the kind of data we are going to deal with as part of the course. You have the input features that is present like P class, name, age, and different kinds of other features that we have talked about, and you'll be having a target variable. The task that we are supposed to do is use these input features to predict the target output variable, right? So we'll be dealing with mostly this kind of data, which is the tabular data. And what we'll be trying to come up with is called a model. A model is something which, based on the data, comes up with rules. We have already seen what a machine learning algorithm is, right? So model is something which has already come up with rules. So it has looked at the data, it has come up with rules, and it has stored those rules. So it is called the model. So we'll see different algorithms can lead to different models, and the model based on these rules, right? So whenever it encounters new data, it can take decision whether to. I mean, the decision can be anything. So the decision can be like in the data set we have seen, the decision will be to say whether the person has survived or not. The other data set, it can be anything, but this is what is a model is called. Model is something which has learned from the data and stored that information in itself to make future decisions. This is called a machine learning model. So we have seen again like what is the different steps that are involved. So the first step is again like to fetch the data, clean the data, and transform the data. The second step is the training the model and evaluating the model. So training the model is like asking the model to look at the data and trying to format set of the rules. And once it has formed the set of rules, right, we'll try to evaluate the model, saying that whether whatever decisions it is taking, is it good or not. Like just like how you evaluate a human, right? You'll give it few data points and ask like, you try to give you results on this. I'll try to evaluate on top of this whether you are doing good or not. So if they are not doing good, again you need to retrain so that you can probably perform better the next point of time. So this is the second step, and once this is done, you will just keep it outside saying that okay, my model is ready, now you can use this model for whatever the task it is. So, so there are different kinds of machine learning algorithms. Again, like you can divide it into different kinds of topics, subtopics you can say. So supervised, unsupervised, semi-supervised, and reinforcement learning. You can ignore the last two. We will be concentrating only on the supervised and unsupervised. Again, unsupervised will come at a later point of time, but supervised is the thing we'll be concentrating on at this point of time. Also, semi-supervised, you can think of it like a mix between these two, and reinforcement learning is outside the scope of this course. So we'll try to learn what is supervised learning. Supervised learning is when you have a labeled data and you are trying to get information from that. So by labeled data, what I meant is so you already have a say a data set of cats and dogs, right? So I'm just given a data set of cats and dogs. I'm just telling in images because it is clear, but we'll not be dealing with images. We'll be dealing with the tablet data we have seen. But this is how it is going to work. You are given a set of cats and images. So say I am given a 5,000 images of cats and 5,000 images of dogs. And also with the image, I'm also told, okay, this is a cat and this is a dog, right? I mean, it is labeled. I'm not just given randomly 10,000 images and asked to figure out like whether it is a cat or dog, right? We are not doing that. What we are doing is I'm separating out 5,000 images of cat, 5,000 images of dog, and giving to my model saying that okay, these are 5,000 images of cat, these are 5,000 images of dog. Now, if I give any new image of cat or dog, right, you should be able to tell whether it is a cat or dog. This is called supervised learning. By supervised learning, what we are trying to say is we are training the algorithm that okay, this is for this input, this should be the output. We are giving the target variable. The target variable we have seen, right? So the target variable in this case is like whether it is a cat or dog. The input variable is nothing but the image, right? So when we are explicitly giving the information whether it is a cat or dog directly, right, it is called a supervised algorithm. Unsupervised is where you don't give the information directly. You ask the algorithm to figure out. You just give 10,000 images dumped to the algorithm saying that okay, these are the images of cats and dogs. You figure out what is a cat and what is a dog. I'm not going to tell what is a cat or a dog. You are supposed to do that. So how unsupervised works is like it will try to see the images and make some pattern recognition on top of that one, saying that okay, maybe if there is fur on the animal that is present in the image, probably it is a cat. Otherwise, it is a dog. These kind of things, right? So unsupervised works like that. So you're not exactly trying to say that okay, this is a cat and dog. You are asking the algorithm to figure out the different things that are present. So again, it kind of looks like machine learning and not machine learning. But again, the main difference between supervised and unsupervised is there is no labels. Label by label I meant like target variable. In supervised, you are saying that these are the labels that are present. So for the data set of cats and dogs, the labels are like whether it's a cat or a dog. In the case of unsupervised, right, there is no label. You are just giving a data set and asking it to do grouping on top of that one. So for example, I have this data set of different football players, right? I'm not going to say that who are all the players that are present inside the uh, data set. I'm trying to ask the algorithm to just group based on similar looking faces. So what it will do is it will see what are all the faces that are present and which faces look similar, and it will try to group those faces into closed ones. So saying that okay, um, these people are present and these faces are looking similar, so these people might be different classes, but it will not say what class is it. So it will not say that this person is Neymar Jr., this person is Lionel Messi, this person is Mohamed Salah or Luis Suarez and Cristiano Ronaldo, because it doesn't know. We haven't provided that information saying that the person's face is looking like this, he is Neymar. We have not provided that information. We have just given the dump to it. We have asked it to like just group the images based on similar looking faces, right? So this is the basic difference between supervised and unsupervised learning. In supervised learning, we give the label saying that okay, for this image, this is the particular label you are supposed to say. So that now the algorithm, whenever it looks like a similar face, it will say that this is the label. In unsupervised, there is no concept of label. There is no target variable. So it will just like say based on some pattern recognition, it will say okay, these things look similar, so probably these come under one category. I don't know what category is that also. I don't know what it is also. I can't even tell what it is, but it comes under one category. That is the unsupervised. Right? So is this clear what supervised and unsupervised learning is? How is it different? Okay, great. So at the beginning, we'll be concentrating on the supervised algorithms, but over the point of the course, we'll go to unsupervised. And you will see that in industry, most of the use cases that you will see is supervised because supervised will work better than unsupervised in most scenarios. And again, the task we are seeing, for example, this Titanic task, right? Is it a supervised or unsupervised use case? Can someone say whether it is a supervised or unsupervised? Yeah, it is supervised. Why is it supervised? So can someone tell? Yeah, exactly. True. Since we have the target variable, it is labeled. This is the supervised data set. So someone is asking like, what are the use cases of unsupervised? So the use cases could be like in general clustering, like you want to do segment, like we have already seen in our applications already few use cases, right? If you remember. So these are few use cases we have seen. So the segmenting clients based on their purchases, right? So this need not be a labeled data set. So it is possible that we just have the client behavior, but we don't know like how to divide these clients into different groups. What we can do is we can ask the computer to figure out like what clients are observing similar kind of behavior, and based on that you do some grouping. Once the groups are formed, we'll try to come up with a different strategies for different groups, saying that okay, if this group is not coming back to me a lot, right, I'll try to give some offers to them so that they will use the app more. This group is very loyal to me, so that I can need not provide much offers to them because they have already been using the app from long time. So these kind of strategies, right? You can do it based on segmenting the clusters using unsupervised algorithm. So again, there are no labels here. Yeah. So someone has mentioned YouTube gives related videos. That is an example of unsupervised. Is my voice breaking? Okay. Very mixed answer. Okay, seems like it is probably due to internet connection. Yeah, someone has asked YouTube gives related videos. So that is a case of unsupervised. So what it does is like based on your using viewing history or viewing history of people who have viewed similar videos, right? It tries to give suggestions on the right. So that is a case of unsupervised. You don't say that okay, this person has looked at this video, so label all these videos so that he can look at those. So that kind of thing is not present. So it is an unsupervised use case. So Alexa would be a supervised use case because you are supposed to do a speech recognition, right? So you are supposed to figure out what is the exact text for the speech that you have been speaking. So it is a supervised use case where you do some labeling of like, okay, if this is this page, probably the text should be this. So you do the labeling explicitly for that. So it is a supervised, not an unsupervised case. Google Photos grouping of similar faces is an unsupervised use case. Yeah, it is an unsupervised use case because you don't explicitly tag like this person is this person is this. So it will try to group it using similar faces. So it is an unsupervised use case. So I hope the concept of supervised and unsupervised is a little bit clear now. So we'll go to the part of what are the different kinds of supervised algorithms. So a supervised algorithm has two different kinds of supervision based on the target output variable. So the main two different use cases of supervised algorithm is when the target variable is a fixed discrete variable or if it is a continuous variable. So these come under the two tasks of classification and regression. Yeah, so I think I'll share the information. Yeah, just a minute. So in supervised algorithm, there are two different kinds of algorithms, which is classification and regression. So it is based on the target variable. I'll explain what is the relation. So a classification algorithm is when the output is a fixed variable, like whether it is a discrete variable or not. By discrete, what I mean is like only few kind of values that target variable can take. So for example, if you see in this Titanic data set, right? So what are all the values that the target variable can take? 1 and 0, right? So it can only take two values. Similarly, cats and dogs, what can it take? Whether it is a cat or dog, right? Only two values it can take. So similarly, say I have another data set like this. So the data set is called CIFAR10, which is very famous for image classification. So there are 10 classes. We are supposed to tell whether it is an aeroplane or automobile or bird or cat or dog, deer, frog, horse, shifter. So you have 10 categories of images, and you, based on looking at an image, you are supposed to tell which category it belongs to, right? So now you can see the target variable can be only 10 values, right? Out of these 10 values, it can be anything. So whenever you have a target variable which is fixed, right, which is a categorical variable, saying that either it is of category 1 or if it is of category 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or so on till how many categories we have, right? So it is called a classification problem. So far we have seen different tasks, whatever we have seen, right? Mostly they are classification problems. So the target variable is supposed to have only a discrete number of values. But there are few use cases where the target variable need not be a discrete variable. For example, say you want to predict the house price that is present around your locality, right? What is the value of a house price? It is not a single category saying that, okay, it is of category 1 or 2 or 3. The price can be anything. It is a real number, right? Real number means it can be value 0 to value infinity. It can take any value between these, right? So since there is no specific number of categories saying that, okay, it is category 1 means 1 lakh, category 2 means 2 lakhs, category 3 means 3 lakhs. There is no restriction like that. The house price can be anything. It can be any number, right? So that is, this comes under the task of regression. where the output is a continuous variable and not a discrete variable, right? So different algorithms apply for classification and regression, but these are the two different kinds of algorithms that you will see. So based on the output target variable, again we are talking only about supervised. We have not gone to unsupervised because we are having a target variable, right? So whenever a target variable, the target variable is a discrete variable, it comes under the task of classification. If the target variable is a continuous variable, it comes under the task of regression. I hope this is clear, right? What is a classification and what is a regression algorithm? The PPT will be shared by Board Infinity. Yeah, I'll share the PPT to them. They will be keeping it in the right place and communicating it with you. Okay, I'll explain again. So classification is when the output variable can only have discrete variable values, saying that okay, it can be either this category or that category or another category. You have few categories, and out of those few categories, you have to tell okay, this belongs to this category. That comes under the task of classification. So what is regression? Regression is when the output is not like a category output you are trying to predict. You are trying to predict a number. So where do we have this kind of number? Say you are trying to predict the stock price, right? Stock price, does it come under category? Saying that okay, it is a category A or B or not, right? Does it come under category? No, right? It is a number. It can be any number. The stock price can be $5, $500, $1,000, $1,000. You can't actually say that okay, it belongs to I mean, you can't discretely say that either stock A can be $100 or only $200 or only $300. Only few categories you can't keep. It is a number, so it can vary from 0 to infinity, any number, right? So it is a continuous value, not like a discrete value, saying that okay, it can only take these values. We are not trying to restrict the target variable. And when we are doing this kind of thing, you call it regression, where the target variable is not a discrete variable, it is a continuous variable. It can be anything. So any use case where the target variable is a fixed variable, right? It comes under the task of classification. Again, where do we use classification? Where you want to categorize it to particular category. So that comes under the task of classification. But when you're trying to predict some value rather than predicting it to a category, right? That comes under the task of regression. Yeah, rainfall prediction can be a good use case for predicting regression. Rainfall prediction, temperature prediction, all those things. So a target variable is a value that we have got already. So again, in supervised, we have seen that the data set is already provided. So the target variable is already provided. There would not be any finite value. By finite value, I meant like the target variable value can vary from 0 to infinity anyway, but the data is already present. Model, we are trying to tell the model that you are supposed to predict some value between 0 to infinity. Any value it can be. You need not be constrained to a particular category. Yeah, so we are trying to tell the model so that yeah, exactly. So in classification case, we tell the model that you are supposed to predict only these categories. In regression case, we say that you are not supposed to predict like a discrete value. You are supposed to predict some value which can vary between anything. So it need not be 0 actually. So in the case of house price cannot be negative. That's why I have mentioned 0. But say in the case of temperature can be negative, right? So in that case, it can be a negative value as well. So say we are trying to predict the weather tomorrow. The weather tomorrow can be minus 10 degrees or plus 10 degrees, anything. It can be any number. There is no bound to it. So in that case, you call it regression. So different algorithms come under the umbrella of classification and regression. So these will be covered as part of the course, but you can just keep in mind logistic regression, naive-Bayes decision tree. These all come under the bracket of classification. Linear regression, support vector regression. Again, decision tree can be used for both classification and regression. few algorithms can be used for both of them. We'll talk about these algorithms later, but yeah, not as part of today because today is just an introduction class. But when we are talking about different algorithms, right, we'll be going through the programming part as well. So even in a machine learning algorithm, there are two different kinds of models. Again, it might not be very clear at this point of time. What are these different kinds of models? What is a parametric model and non-parametric model? But I'll just give a basic understanding. You can revisit it after you come back after learning the algorithms because it makes more sense at that point of time after you have learned few algorithms because currently you don't know how a algorithm looks like, but I will just give a brief introduction to what are parametric and non-parametric models. So we have seen what is a model, right? So can someone say what is a model? Yeah, forecasting temperature is a example of regression. Anywhere the target variable is a continuous variable, right? It's not a fixed category, it is a regression. So can someone tell what is a model? Hello, are you able to hear me? Hello? Hello? Yeah, so can someone mention what is a model? Yeah, true. Model is a set of rules, exactly. As Sanket has mentioned, model is a function. So model is a function. By function, what a, yeah, exactly. Model is something which takes input and predicts some output based on some algorithm. Yeah, an equation which gives relation between variables. So the variables will be input and output. System will be training, yeah. So we'll be training the model to come up with those rules. So yeah, these are all correct answers. So model is one which comes up with those rules. I mean those rules to like do the particular task. And there are two different kinds of models where you can think of it like parametric and non-parametric models. Yeah, model is a program that has made rules from data. Yeah, and you can think of it like it has made rules from data, but ideally what you would call it is like it has learned a function from input to output, as Sanket has mentioned, right? So model is something which has learned a function to change the input to the output. I mean, taking the input, it is supposed to give an output. Again, how it is does that, it does that by coming up with the rules as we have discussed. But you can think of it like it is a function which takes the input and gives the output. So this is a model. So y equals to f of x. You can see x is the input features and y is the target variable. F is the model, right? So there are two different kinds of models: parametric model and non-parametric model. A parametric model is one which doesn't change when new data is present. So, for example, if we have trained the model on some 5,000 images of cat and 5,000 images of dogs, right? So if a new image comes, the model doesn't change. It has already learned its uh, rules. So now it will not change based on new data coming, right? So that is called a parametric model. So it has already figured out what are all the parameters during the training process. A non-parametric model is something which can change based on the data coming. So if new data is coming, right, it will change based on the new data coming because it will try to come up with rules based on the data that is present at this point of time, but not on the data it has already been trained on. So those come under the concept of non-parametric models. It might not exactly make a sense currently because we haven't talked about a lot of algorithms, but you will see that as you talk about more algorithms, right, you will get to know. We'll be talking about linear regression, logistic regression, and other things as part of the course, which come under parametric models, and similarly, k-nearest neighbors, decision trees, random forest, which come under the non-parametric model. So, parametric model is one where it has already learned the parameter based on some data which it has seen. So now even if new data comes, right, it won't change its decision. Now it has already made up the rules, so it will not change. But non-parametric model is not like that. So it will change itself based on the data that is coming at any point of time. Right? Is this clear? What is a parametric and what is a non-parametric model? Okay. Yeah. Uh, like as I said, you might not need to know entirely what is a parametric model and non-parametric model is, but you just need to keep in understanding that a parametric model is one which has gone through the data once, like it has seen a data set of 5,000 images of cats and 5,000 images of dogs. So now if I provide another 10 images of cats, right, it won't change. I mean, 10 images of cats or dogs, it won't change its decision based on the new data that is coming. It is already trained once. So yeah, it has learned its parameters. So that is why it is a parametric model. But then say we have got new data, and then the outcome of the decision of the model is dependent upon the data that is present at this point of time, right? So that is a non-parametric model because it doesn't have any parameters. It is just looking at the data that is present at this point of time and based on that making a decision. So k-nearest neighbors is one very famous algorithm which is known for being a non-parametric algorithm. So when you learn about it, you will know like it is actually dependent upon the data that is present at that point of time. So it doesn't have any learning actually. By learning, I meant like it doesn't have any parameters. I mean, it will not learn anything at any point of time. It will just look at the data that is present at that point of time, and based on that, it will come up with the decision. I'm not talking about the exact algorithm at this point of time because yeah, we will cover it later. But just think of it like this: a parametric algorithm, parametric model is something which will not change its pattern. Yeah, as the admin has mentioned, it doesn't change its pattern once it has learned the parameters. I mean, once it has learned the data. But a non-parametric model is something which will change based on the data that is coming. So say now I have 5,000 images of cats and 5,000 images of dogs, right? Another 1,000 images of cats are added to the data. Now again, the decision of the model will change. That is a non-parametric model. How this part is clear, right? What is a parametric and what is a non-parametric model? How about others? Yeah. Yeah, so someone can briefly say what is a parametric model and what is a non-parametric model. Yeah. Once it has learned, yeah, exactly, as Shashank has mentioned, once it has learned the way of doing a task, right? Once it has learned it, it will not change based on the new data that is coming. So, yeah. So, yeah, that is even more concise answer from Sushmita. So it has learned the equation between input and output. So it will not learn. I mean, it will not change. So, however, non-parametric model keep learning over time. Actually, in case of K-mean, you will see that there is no learning. Actually, it will just look at the data, and looking at the data, it will come at the decision at that point of time. So this is the basic difference between a parametric and non-parametric model. Okay, so we'll do some very basic quiz. So the task is to say whether these algorithms, whatever that is present right on the uh, slide, whether it is a classification or a regression or an unsupervised algorithm. First, we'll talk whether it is a supervised or unsupervised. If it is a supervised or unsupervised, then we'll say whether it is a classification or regression problem, right? So there is no concept of continuous or non-continuous data when it comes to parametric or non-parametric. We're just saying that parametric is one where once it has learned, it will not try to learn again. It has come up with its own parameters, so it won't change. It has learned the function between input and output using some data. So now it won't want to change its function again. So currently we are talking about supervised algorithms. So we are not talking about unsupervised right now. So the first question is like, how much should a company spend in TV ads? So is this a supervised or unsupervised algorithm? Okay. So whoever has said supervised or unsupervised, right? Can you tell a reason why it is supervised or whether it is unsupervised? So it can be both a supervised and unsupervised algorithm. So, but it is a regression, that is for sure. Like because the output variable is a continuous variable, but it can be supervised or unsupervised. Yeah. So as someone has said, you can actually form clusters and based on that make a decision like how much to spend or something like that. But instead of that, you can also do one thing, like you can just spend some amount of money on few places, like say different distributions will be there, right? TV distribution or say paper distribution, and see how are the results you are getting, label that and try to create a data set and then use that data set to do the prediction. So either you can do this way or you can do an unsupervised way. So it can be both a supervised or unsupervised based on whether what kind of approach you are taking. But output is a regression kind of thing because it is a continuous variable. Right. So yeah, I hope this is clear. Next question will be like, how do you build a rules engine to identify a junk email? When building a rules engine to find a junk email, whether it is a classification or unsupervised, supervised or unsupervised. Yeah. Yeah, it is a supervised classification algorithm. It is a very famous NLP problem, the basic NLP problem when someone is getting started with text. The task is to like look at the words that are present in the email. Say some words are like, hey, you got money, you have got $1 million. These kind of words are there, right? Based on those words, you are supposed to come up with rules to identify whether it is a spam or not spam. So it is supervised and it is a classification algorithm. It is classification because it has only two categories, whether it is a junk mail or not a junk mail. So that's why it is a classification algorithm. It is not having an output of a continuous variable. So NLP, again, NLP is something which deals with text as input. We have seen input as tabular data so far. We have seen that images can be used as input. Similarly, you can use text as input as well. So when you are saying that you are using text as input, right, it is called natural language processing. So again, you can't say that it is part of ML or DL. ML means you are using machine learning algorithms to do the task of NLP. Deep learning means you are using neural networks to do the task of NLP. The task is same, to do a particular analysis of text, but again, which algorithm you apply is upon you, like whether you want to use ML or DL, it's up to you. So it is part of both ML and DL. You can use any algorithm. You can use a machine learning algorithm, or you can use a deep learning algorithm. Which one is giving you the best results, right? You'll try to use that. Okay. So the next question will be segmenting customers with similar purchase behavior. Yeah, most of you got it right. It is a unsupervised algorithm. Since we are doing segmenting of customers with similar purchase behavior, we don't have uh, exact data that okay, this person and this person are similar. So we just need to do it based on looking at the patterns. So this is a classic problem of unsupervised algorithm, segmenting customers with similar purchase behavior, right? Okay. So the next one, identifying fraudulent transactions. Perfect. Everyone got this right. It is a supervised classification algorithm. It is supervised because you are supposed to have data saying that whether the transaction is fraud or not, right? So what companies do is they collect a lot of data, which they label saying that whether the transaction is happening in a right way or there is some fraud that is happening. So once you have this, they actually do some analysis on top of that one and try to see whether any new person who is trying to make a transaction, right, is he a fraudster or a real person. So this is a very big use case that works in most fintech companies, like credit card companies and things like that. And again, as many have mentioned, it is a classification problem. Why it is a classification problem? It is a classification problem because there are only two outcomes, whether it is fraud or not fraud, right? So only two categories are there. That's why it's a classification problem. Okay, how about the next one? Recommending movies to customers. In Netflix, if you open, right, so you'll see these movies that are coming in Netflix or even YouTube. It is coming at the right side. Yeah, everyone got it right. It is unsupervised because you can't label saying that this person is going similar to this person directly. You need to learn it from patterns. So it is an unsupervised algorithm. Yeah, so we'll either do clustering or there are recommendation algorithms which you will be probably getting covered as well. So there are different algorithms which are specifically designed for the task of recommendation engine. Either whatever you see in Netflix or anything, or whatever you see in Flipkart or anything, right? So there are two different kinds of recommendation algorithms. One is based on your own behavior. So if you have purchased two products together, right? So it kind of says a behavior saying that if I'm purchasing this, I'm going to purchase the other one as well. So this is user behavior. And then there is another behavior they also see, like if your behavior is matching with any other user behavior as well, right? So for example, if I have purchased milk and eggs together, and another person has also purchased milk and eggs together, our behavior is kind of similar. So if the other person along with milk and eggs has also purchased, say something like vegetables, right? So probably I will be purchasing vegetables as well. So I can get a recommendation from the e-commerce engine saying that would you want to try to buy this as well? So this kind of behavior they do using user to user behavior. So these two kinds of recommendation algorithms are there. You will probably see it as part of the course. And yeah, as everyone has said, it is an unsupervised algorithm. So the last one, modeling activity with the 2000 plus predictors is getting. Yeah, so we haven't discussed it about this much, but people already have an idea of it. So this comes under the task of dimensionality reduction. You're having a lot of features. So again, you probably would not understand why it is an unsupervised algorithm right now, but you can think of it like whenever you wanted to do a feature reduction, right? You would go with an algorithm called PCA, which is an unsupervised algorithm. We haven't discussed it as part of today, but you will discuss it as part of unsupervised. So what happens is like every algorithm has the problem of if the input features is a lot, right? It will start suffering. So let me show this data set, right? You can see in this case, I'm having at max 10 features, P class, name, sex, age, and all those things. But say if I have 2000 features, right? It becomes very difficult for the algorithm to come up with the rules because as the number of features increases, it has to like look at a lot of things to come up with the rules, right? So in that case, it will start struggling. So what you do is you try to reduce the number of features using a technique called PCA, which is unsupervised. Also, you will get more information when you're talking about PCA, but you can just keep this in mind. This is called dimensionality reduction, where you reduce the number of features from uh, any number to a manageable number. So it comes under the task of unsupervised. Yeah, so these are the topics for today. I guess I hope things are clear. What is the in a little bit summary of whatever things we have covered, I guess, before we go for questions. So we have seen what is machine learning. Duration of the course, like Board Infinity will talk to you about the duration of the course. So we'll have a little summary of whatever we have talked today. What is machine learning? We have seen. So a tuple is nothing but a value between a data point and a feature. You can see whatever we have seen in the data set, right? So the data set looks like this. You have a feature at the top, and then you are having a data point. So there are multiple data points. The data points are nothing but like different persons that are present in the Titanic data set, right? So there is one guy called Brand, and then there is Cummings. So these are different people that are present, and then we have like seen whether they have survived or not. So we are trying to do this based on particular features, right? So a tuple is one where you have a user and the particular value for that user. So for this user, say user 8, user ID 8, what is the name, right? So what is the name is for ID 8, what is the name? So this is the tuple. Tuple means like when you have two values involved, right? You might have seen in Python. So you have for 8, what is the name? That is Paulson master. So this is the tuple. And again, since it is a tabular data, right, you can think of it like a relational database. So you can do relational database kind of queries on top of this one. So you know what is a relational database, right? So you can do queries like greater than 50, less than 50 on age, and try to segment and things like that. So that is the relations that we are talking about in general. Attribute is nothing but a particular feature. Whenever we are calling a feature, right, it is nothing but an attribute. So it is just a different name for a feature. Tuple is a value between a data point and the particular feature. I hope this is clear. So yeah, we have talked what is machine learning. Machine learning is a different kind of programming, we can say, where we don't write the rules, but we ask the machine to write the rules. And why do we need machine to learn anything? That is because like we are having a lot of data. Previously, this kind of data explosion was not there, so people didn't have an access to a lot of data, any kind of data. So they were not using machine learning. So they were using some human heuristics, predicting, okay, maybe this might be the behavior, so I'll just do something on top of that. So say for example, someone want to spend money on ads, right? So they will only come up with rules, handwritten rules, saying that okay, maybe the middle class people want to do this, not based on data. There is no data involved. That is just only based on human experience. People come up with rules. This is what used to happen, but now things are changing. People are trying to replace human experience, human intuition with data. Everyone wants to take a data-driven decision. They don't want to like go by intuition currently. So that is why machine learning has seeped into every kind of branch you see, because so again, you can think of it like a person who is an engineer versus a person who is an MBA kind of thing. So someone who is doing analysis and reporting it to his manager kind of does the data analysis and gives the results, but the manager has to do this analysis and say how it impacts the business based on this analysis, right? He has to show it to the people who is going to provide money. So you can say that it comes under the broad spectrum of business analysis. That is what business analytics is different from normal machine learning. Machine learning is like there is an engineer involved, works on data, and he gives the results. But he does not care about the business aspect of it. So he doesn't directly come into the business aspect. The one who comes into the business aspect is an MBA guy or anyone who has an understanding of not only the results of the data, but how can it impact a particular business decision. He has to use the data to like get stakes for the project. So that's why we need machine learning. Why we need machine learning is because we currently have data. Previously, we didn't have data. We were using human intuition to come up with rules. Currently, we are having a lot of data. That's why we can do machine learning on top of that one. And everyone has a lot access to a lot of data. So that's why they are throwing different models there to that and see how is it going. And we have seen different kinds of forms of data are there, images, text, and but the thing we'll be delving into as part of this course is the tabular data, the Titanic kind of data set we have seen. And what is model? A model is a kind of a function between input and output, a set of rules that the algorithm has learned by looking at the data, right? And then we have seen what is a supervised and unsupervised algorithm. Supervised is when you have the target variable, and unsupervised is when you don't have any target variable. And again, in supervised, we saw that there are two kinds of algorithms, uh, classification and regression. Classification is when the output variable is a fixed one, like you only have few categories that are present in the output. But when the output variable is not a fixed one and a continuous variable, it comes under the task of regression. So these are the two different kinds of algorithms that are present in supervised. And then we have seen what is unsupervised, where we don't have any labels. We are just trying to do some clustering or things like that based on the patterns that are present in the data. And then parametric versus non-parametric models. We have seen that parametric is a kind of model where you have the data is once the model has learned from the data, it won't change the decision much because it has learned the function between input and output, the parameters which it can use to model the function between input and output, so it won't change much based on new data. Non-parametric model is one where say new data comes, right, it changes its decision because always it takes decision based on what data is present at the current point of time, not like it has already learned and it will just give the result for the new data. So it will always take into decision what is the data that is present at this point of time and try to give a decision on top of that one. So non-parametric model is not a fixed one. So we will be doing many assignments apart from Titanic survival. Titanic survival is like the ABCD of machine learning, so that's why I have shown what it is. But again, I have not even discussed about how to solve this problem. I have just shown the data to you. You'll see how you can apply different algorithms to solve the problem of Titanic survival. But you'll be also coming across multiple other assignments as part of the course. So you will be doing, Jagmeet is asking, will we be doing projects during part of the training? Yeah, you will be given assignments, I guess, as part of the course. And similarly, you will be having a lot of quizzes as part of the course, which will aid your training. Okay, so we are up to the last 10 minutes, I guess. So if you have any questions related to anything, be it anything specific, right, and just ask either related to course or even not related to course in general about machine learning and things like that, you can ask. So the career path is like be very good in the course. So they will be evaluating you in the course as part of different quizzes and assignments. So if you have very good results, right, so they will be providing your profile to various companies. So that would be a very good entry point. Uh, After that, if you want to even continue, right, so continue this process, share information over Medium, LinkedIn, and various other platforms, and keep in touch with the people who have been involved in the community, so that can build a brand for you. So that once you have built a brand for you, you will be getting a lot of opportunities. And you should always have a portfolio ready, a portfolio of different projects that you have tried out. So, and it has to be a real world use case kind of thing. So not like a pet project you have done, like a data set which is already available. So are there any open source projects of ML where we can contribute? I would say uh, like it would be better if you concentrate on working problems related to machine learning. So I think many of you might be aware of this website called Kaggle. I hope, right? So many of you might have known what is this website Kaggle. If not, I'm just mentioning its name here. Sorry. So there is this website called Kaggle. You can go there. Once you go there, you will be able to find a lot of data sets, and you can try out whatever you have learned over the part of the course on different data sets and see if you are able to like get onto the leaderboard to a good position. If you are able to like get onto the leaderboard at a good position, it is a very good indicator that you are very good when you are an expert in machine learning to the employer. Yeah, so we'll be using Python for data science. So there are ways you can actually create your own data set if you want to work on real world. As Sanket has mentioned, web scraping is a very good way to create a data set. Say you wanted to do a task like predict whether you are what kind of action you are doing, right? Say I'm trying to see from phone accelerometer data where I'm sitting or standing or things like that. So what you can do is you can collect the phone accelerometer data. You can tie the phone to yourself and do the action. See what are the accelerometer readings, note them down, create a data set out of that, and then do a project on top of that one. So this is a very good project to have. Similarly, web scraping. Say for example, you wanted to predict what is the rating that a user might be giving to a particular movie, right? What you can do is you can go to Book My Show, you can scrape all the reviews that are present. Based on those reviews, you will be getting also the ratings like whatever the user has given. So this is like a recommendation algorithm only. So where based on whatever the ratings that the user has given to the previous movies, right? You want to predict for the new movie whether he has given the same kind of rating or not. I mean, what kind of rating he will be giving, whether he will be giving 1 star or 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, 5 star. You can create a data set like this from Book My Show and do a recommendation engine on top of that one. So that will be a very good problem to solve as well. Yeah. So if you are good with web scraping, that would help a lot. Or you can use APIs as well. So there are many APIs. For example, ESPN Cricinfo has APIs to collect the sports data. So you can use that to create a sports data set. So the thing is, since you are currently still in final year, right? So you would not be having experience in machine learning currently. So you're still learning as part of this course. The ideal thing would be next to like, since it is not very easy to get into a job, the ideal thing would be to get started with an internship. Once you get started with an internship, I mean 1 2 internships, right? So you can use that as an experience to move on to another job. So that is the ideal path for anyone. Get an internship and use those internship to get a job. So, and the interesting thing is people have been doing internships currently from second year, third year, fourth year. We did an internship that is also for namesake in my college when I was studying in IIT Delhi. But now people have matured a lot compared to when I have graduated. They have started doing internships from second year itself, and that too very relevant internships. So more internships you have, more better your profile will become. So the basics of Python should be enough. You need not have like a good command of, or I mean very good command of Python. So the basics, like how do you deal with simple things like list, and how do you write a loop and things like that. Those kind of things would work. You don't need to learn much of Python, basic Python. So NumPy is a library. Again, it's not Python, right? So we have to learn NumPy. Probably that will be present as part of the course, but again, it is not Python. NumPy is a library that is supposed to be learned if you are dealing with numerical data. So someone is asking, can I do part-time internship? So it again depends upon whether the company is okay to do a part-time intern. I mean, to provide a part-time internship. So because when someone is providing an internship, right, they would be interested in like getting results out of you. So if you're doing part-time, it might not be very easy for them to like get substantial results over time. So they would not be very interested in general for a part-time kind of thing. But in case if you are able to get, that is awesome. So try out and see, reach out to people and see if you are able to get a part-time internship. If not, you can still do a project yourself. If they are not giving an internship, you can do project yourself and put it on GitHub. That would still be helpful. Which companies are providing internship for ML? So you can go to LinkedIn and similarly Glassdoor and few other places where you can get an idea of like what are the different internships that are present. Similarly, Naukri and you have this Internshala, these kind of websites. So yeah, there are many companies which are providing, and similarly there are many startups which are open to taking freshers for internships. Don't ever do a fee-based internship. You should always do a paid internship. If you are paying money to get do an internship, it means that you are not actually providing value, or like you are not doing good work. So whenever you are doing work, you should be paid. You should not pay them. So we'll be using high-level APIs. We'll not be using low-level. I mean, we'll not write the algorithm from scratch because that is the thing that is supposed to be done by mathematicians or someone who has designed the algorithm. Our idea is to use the algorithm to solve a business use case. So we'll not be coding the algorithms. We'll only be using the algorithms to solve a particular business use case. So deployment will not be covered as part of this course. This course is mostly about like how to uh, different kinds of machine learning algorithms are there, and how can we apply it on data set to get the best results. So EC2 is not included. It probably will be included as part of web development or other course, but not as part of machine learning currently. I'll be sharing the PPT and Excel to Board Infinity. They will be sharing it with you. My LinkedIn handle, okay. So this is my LinkedIn handle. You can reach out to me in case you have any doubts related to data science or anything in general. So any more doubts regarding anything? Okay, great. So I'll share all the resources that I have shown today. Board Infinity.
Yeah. Are we done with the class, sir?
Yeah, we are done with the class.
Yeah. So guys, please don't leave the session right away. At first, I try to share you my screen and show you the Board Infinity account, right? And it was not visible. So just give me 2 minutes. I'll be sharing you my screen and I'll help. I'll show you how you should navigate through Board Infinity account once again, so that if anyone is missing out anywhere, they can learn. So just a second. So when you go to meanwhile, while the session is while the web page is loading, I want you all to understand that after each and every session, we will be having a feedback form floating in your Slack and also in the chat. Okay, so it is mandatory for all of you to fill your feedback so that we can give you the best experience possible. And please also give a small testimonial regarding the coach and also regarding the support that you're getting. So in case if you're having any issues, my number is always there in Slack. Just give me 1 second. Meanwhile, I'm opening the portal. So guys, I'm sharing my screen now. So this is your screen. This is how it should look. And this is your course, machine learning course with certification. Click on this course. Then you should be looking at something like this. And stuck DM Sudeep and machine learning course, etc., etc. And when you go to modules, you can go to introduction to machine learning and introduction to machine learning, 21st March 7 p.m. So when your recorded video is available, it will be over here and you can watch. You can click on watch and view the video. Okay, and also in my calendar, you can find the same in my calendar as well. All right, yeah. So that's it for now. Thank you so much for attending this session, and please don't forget to fill the. In case you are having any issues, please feel free to reach out to me anytime over WhatsApp or by a call. Thank you so much. Have a good night.